Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bantz with Lawrencia. How are you all doing? Hope you're doing great. For today's episode, I want to talk about Nedu and Very Dark Black Man and the Honest Bunch podcast. Now, for some of you who are living under the rock, or for some of you who have not heard, let me just give you, a bit of a background. According to resources or information online, Nedu and Very Dark Black Man, or Nedu wanted to get close to Very Dark Black Man. He has been messaging Very Dark Black Man, but even before then, I watched a podcast when Very Dark Black Man was just coming up. At that point, when his account was deactivated, Tunde Not was posting him, Gossip Mill was posting him. So he was literally in our faces, because I think he moved from TikTok to Instagram. That wasn't actually knew who Very Dark Black Man was. And then I was watching a Honest Bunch podcast in the midst of that whole drama, because then Very Dark Black Man was literally beefing everybody. He had an issue with Daddy Freeze. So during the podcast, I can't remember the guest, but Nedu, they brought up Very Dark Black Man, and Nedu was like, I don't want to hear that name here. I don't want to hear that name here. So literally, it was husband material that brought up the name, and Nedu literally shut it down, that he does not want to hear that name. So you can imagine how surprised I was when Very Dark, because when the issue started was comedian D1 went on the show to talk about how he has always been talking about Very Dark Black Man. So Nedu and the Honest Bunch, being their controversial self, brought D1, or D1, according to the story, asked Nedu to be on the show, and Nedu accepted. Now, during the show, Nedu asked him about Very Dark Black Man, and D1 specifically said that he didn't want to talk about VDM. Like this year, he said he didn't want to talk about VDM, but Nedu kind of pressed on, and he started talking about VDM. He said VDM is gay. He said VDM does things to men for money. He said a whole lot of things that, and he said VDM embezzled 20 million from the foundation. He used that to deposit for a Range Rover. So there was so many allegations that D1 made, and according to D1, he said he has evidence. So Nedu and the Honest Bunch podcast were kind of acting surprised that they didn't understand, or they didn't know all these things, because D1 before then has been saying all these things online. What he said at that show or on that show was nothing new. He has always said those things. So I was even shocked when Nedu was kind of championing and saying that he's very good friends with Very Dark Black Man. So I was watching the show and I'm thinking, when did this happen? Like this friendship, because from what I saw on that show previously, you didn't even want his name to be mentioned. Now, after the show, that went viral. And then Very Dark Black Man came after Nedu. He started bashing Nedu. He said Nedu literally brought his enemy, claiming to be his friend, and then brought his enemy on the show. According to Very Dark Black Man, he said that Nedu invited him to the show several times. He refused, and there was one time they met in Abuja. He met Nedu, they were talking. Nedu even promised to buy him a car, wanting him to make an appearance on the show. And according to Very Dark Black Man, he said he turned him down. So because of that, Nedu, according to Very Dark Black Man, was not happy, and then he decided to use D1, who he knew that D1 is always against. I mean, most of D1's content, according to what VDM said, is about him. So for him to be claiming to be his friend and then brings D1 on that show, knowing exactly what D1 was going to say, he said that was a betrayal, and that was why he went after Nedu and the Honest Bunch podcast. VDM started releasing information about everything that Nedu had told him. He said Nedu said he slept with one Jojo girl. I think she's a Kaduna girl. Nedu is also a Kaduna brought up. So I think maybe she was trying to get into the industry, or Nedu was trying to help her, or they did a skit together. And she said that she's heard from different people that Nedu said that he, you know, sleeps with her, and that is how she has become who she is. So she came out, she cried, she said she has never slept with Nedu. In fact, she did a live TikTok with Very Dark Black Man to clear the air. She said yes, that she knew him in Kaduna. So just because of that, you know, connection, maybe she reached out to him, I'm not sure, but they did a skit together. And she said after the skit, several people have reached out to her to say that Nedu has said he's the one that made you, and you guys, he's just your play, as in Jojo is his plaything. That was how Very Dark Black Man put the whole thing. So she came out, she cried, she clarified that she has never slept with him, that she has even never slept with anybody in the skit or music industry. And since then, VDM has released evidence upon, or released names he's called Cider Bosch, because according to him, Nedu said that Cider Bosch is because Cider Bosch came on the show and said that she's not going to sleep with anybody for less than 20 million, or she's not going to reply anybody's message who has not sent her at least 20 million naira. That went viral. So according to Nedu, or according to what VDM said, Nedu said, this is now alleged, because I mean, we're not there. He said that Nedu said that Cider Bosch is very cheap. She was wearing okrika, and she's sitting down there talking about that amount of money that he couldn't even look at her because she looks so tattered and so, you know, cheap. Now he was telling all those things to VDM in confidence. So as maybe, you know, you're trying to build a relationship with somebody and you're giving them information or gist. Now Cider Bosch also came out and gave Nedu 24 hours now to either confirm or it was a mess, or it's a mess because it's still ongoing. So VDM is saying that anybody or any woman on that show has given Nedu some kind of sexual favor before they were allowed on that show. He said even Cider Bosch, he called a whole lot of names. Like anybody, any woman you're looking at on that show had done such things. And you can also remember that when Yvonne Jegede went on that show, she also had issues with Nedu, because according to her, Nedu was trying to get close to her and she was saying no, and because she said no, the tone of the question on that show, or the way he kind of asked, you know, there are some, if you ask question with empathy, you can ask a direct question, but the tone would dictate something else. Somebody will look at it and think, okay, this is an innocent question, but depending on what has gone on in the background, that may become something else. And Yvonne Jegede accused Nedu of editing the show in a way that made her look bad. So this whole thing has been going on because a lot of, and Nedu on that show several times will say, oh, I know this, I know that, this person said this or this. So you can see that he works on a radio. He's a gossip. I don't understand why people are shocked, to be honest, because his job is gossip. He gossips. Whether they are true, whether they are false, that is his job. That is the currency that he's trading with. And I think that was the same way he approached VDM, trading that currency. But when it didn't work, he now decided to reverse the whole thing and then use D1 allegedly to attack VDM. And this has turned out to be very, very bad for both Honest Bunch and Nedu. Glitch Africa, who is the owners of Honest Bunch, released a statement saying that Honest Bunch is not the only thing that they do. They listed the whole different things that the content that they create and all that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the latest is that Nedu has been sacked. Okay. Some people said, or according to the statement he released online, he said he's stepping away from Honest Bunch, which is, according to people, according to his statement, that he resigned. But according to people, and according to his arch enemy right now, VDM, he said that Nedu was sacked. Nedu has been sacked from the Honest Bunch, allegedly. Allegedly. What do you think? Because I think that this whole drama is content. Whether we like it or not, it is content. But I think what makes honest bunch, what it is actually Nedu, because he's not afraid to kind of husband material is, you know, prim and proper. Daty Cole is more of a, you know, ajebo. So Nedu is the honest bunch, because that he is the reason why people tune into that show, because he's going to ask certain questions that maybe husband material will not be feeling comfortable to ask. Maybe Ezine will be kind of too, you know, I come from a humble background, or Daty Cole will be like, I'm too ajebo to even ask this question. So those questions that makes the honest bunch, Nedu is actually the one asking those questions, and now they have sacked him or he's moving away. So my question is, do you think that the honest bunch podcast itself is going to survive without Nedu, or do you think that them removing Nedu from the equation would actually make them grow, because now people will feel more comfortable coming on the show? A lot of people have, you know, talked about Nedu. What's his name? He has been on the show. He also said he has experiences that he's going to share later. Anyway, this is an unfolding story. I'm going to bring you updates as it unfolds. Thank you very much for watching today's episode. Please like and share. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.